Hello everyone, I'm Joyce here.
I'm Soshana.
I'm Holly Geerdes.
Thanks for joining us again. Last time we talked about celebrities. Probably the problems or the things that they didn't do right. I hope we're going to talk about another case today, and I hope this can be a case where you can actually learn from and do something before it's too late. I think that's the whole goal of us filming this today. So, starting with, what's her name?
ARETHA
Franklin.
ARETHA Franklin. So, we're going to talk about wills.
Yes.
Okay. And in ARETHA Franklin's case, holographic wills. So what is a holographic will? Well, first of all, holographic wills are not legally valid in Georgia. And in many, many states are not valid. Holographic will is where you can write on a piece of napkin, I want my assets to go to A, B, and C, and sign it. No witness.
No nothing.
No notary. Just you can scribble a note on it and sign it. And then in a few states, that can be possibly considered the valid legal will. ARETHA Franklin had a valid will, actually, in a cabinet, two of them, that she, I think one of them was in 2010. The issue was they subsequently found in a notebook in the couch a note signed by her in 2014 that was different
from the one
than the will found in the cabinet with all her important documents. So her three children fought against each other as to which will was going to be valid. Now, this was in Michigan, I think. And Michigan allows holographic wills.
That's why.
Okay. Most states don't allow it for a number of reasons. There's no witness.
Right.
There's no notary.
Right.
So anything can happen. It could be fraud. It could be by duress, whatever. It's just so ripe for challenges, obviously. It will be challenged. Who knows what was the state of mind
of the person
when you're just scribbling a note with no witnesses to determine whether she was competent, whether it was under duress.
And how do you know if it's even a will? I mean,
she wrote it.
It's got to be litigated. The surviving heirs have to prove that she was competent, that was her wishes by extraneous evidence, right?
And that was her last will.
And that was her last will. So it's very difficult to prove a valid holographic will, but it's a lot of litigation fees.
I could see
that. In that case, though, so the legally, I guess, like the document that was signed and witnessed and all that, was that quite different from what she actually wrote in her notebook?
Yeah. It was.
That's why.
So the 2010 was naming one son as the executor.
Okay.
And the other two sons could not receive their inheritance until they got a college degree. So the 2014 never mentioned they had to go get college degrees. So the two sons, which will do you think they wanted?
The second one.
The second one.
They didn't go to college.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And the 2010 one that named the other son as the executor, which will did he want?
The other one.
That's right.
So that's what...
That's right. And the two wills were different as to who would get the home, which was, I think, valued at about $1.1 million.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So the two sons were fighting against the other brother. And they went to a full jury trial just on this one issue. Okay?
Okay.
As to which will was going to be valid.
Okay.
And the jury determined that both wills were legally valid, number one. And when there's two wills that are legally valid, the last one in time, the most recent, is the one that trumps the other will. So the two sons, yippee, don't have to go to college. to get there because they would have had to go to college and wait.
Yeah.
Until that happens,
Yeah.
like they're not gonna. Oh my God! So they don't have to go to college.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And there's still other legal issues they got to work out. Who's going to be the executor? Because even the most recent will, the other brother can contest who the executor is going to be.
Okay.
So they only went to trial on one minutia of a detail, which was a whopper, obviously. There are a lot of other legal issues that they have to work out. And ARETHA Franklin, I don't know if you know, she had a disabled child.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
So the third one? No, fourth one. Fourth one.
Fourth.
Okay.
So she didn't make provisions. The child will inherit something, but she didn't protect the child from
Oh, the
disability
social-
cost and all that, which is unfortunate. And they had said that ARETHA, for many years, they told her to do a valid will, do a trust, and
She didn't do trust?
no. So
Oh my God.
everything has to be probated publicly. And when you talk about people, oh, I just want to do something cheap, maybe a $99 will, maybe I'll just write my own will. And it costs the estate hundreds of thousands of dollars to litigate just even one issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And so you have to remember when you do a will or a trust and it doesn't work out, or you want to be cheap and take shortcuts,
Mm-hmm.
it can be very, very
Costly.
costly.
And
by
time.
And time.
Yeah.
And time. That was a time consuming.
Dang. The three brothers, are they going to be friends after all this?
Probably not.
No.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
what's the worst.
I think that's probably the worst thing.
Yeah.
Is the relationships, how
That's
they change after all this.
Now imagine if it was just a valid will. Those brothers would have had nothing to contest, argue about,
Mm-hmm.
nothing. And they
No.
would have all got along. But
And they'll
ARETHA,
get more money.
more money.
Definitely more money.
A lot more money.
Yeah.
I mean, ARETHA estate, was more than what most people have. But now when you go through all the litigation fees, and attorney fees, and they're still not done,
Yeah.
you have to think as a parent, your children may still get along, but you sometimes pit them against each other because
Right.
you didn't do it right.
Yeah.
I
And
think
what
that's the
happened.
big thing.
That's the biggest tragedy of all of this,
Mhm.
is that they're never going to get along, and they're still going to be fighting in probate court
Mm-hmm.
for some years over all the other legal issues.
It can get really, really ugly because it's not. Once the parents are gone, I don't think it's just money issue anymore. You have this baggage that you've been carrying all these years. Now, like, how dare you tell me this? So it gets really, really ugly, and yeah, you definitely lose all your family members that way.
So now that we've talked about the wills and the trusts, I mean, is this something like you do one or the other, or you have both of them, or what? What am I
Excellent question. So if you don't have a trust, you do a testamentary will where you state your wishes as to who's going to receive your assets.
Mm-hmm.
When you do a trust, you still do a will, but it's a different version.
Oh, okay.
It's called a pour over will, like you pour a drink,
Okay.
POUR. It's a catch-all document only used in the event that you forget to put something in the trust.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you bought an extra property after you did the trust many years later, and you still have the title of that property in your personal name instead of the trust name.
Right.
And so the pour over will is a document used to pour that asset into your trust and distribute it according to the trust terms,
Okay.
not probate court deciding where that asset goes. So you don't write your wishes in the pour over will, you put that in the trust.
Mm-hmm.
And the pour over will is just catching anything you forgot to mention
Got it.
and put it in the trust, and it puts it in the trust
Mm-hmm.
so that your trust is the governing body
I see.
as to who gets your assets, not probate court, not people that want to object or contest anything.
Mm-hmm.
We want to put it in the trust and privately distribute everything according to your trust terms.
Right.
So, but still, if you have left something and if you have to use the pour over will, then that has to go through the probate court, right? Just
Still.
so that, yeah.
Yeah, so don't think you can just forget everything and you'll still be fine. when you have a trust and not fund anything and say, oh, well,
I'll just go
wait.
pour over.
Yeah, the pour over. Well, you still have to probate.
Yeah, then.
But
yes.
when probate, we can take it out of probate and then put it in the trust.
So that will be very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for answering that question.
Yeah.
And remember, for Aretha Franklin, she had a valid will. It's the one they found in the couch that was a holographic will. And the holographic will never mentioned who was going to be the executor.
No, because you don't think about those things when you're
the
writing.
valid will did. So they still have a whole issue of who's going to be the executor.
They're going to have to fight over it.
They're going to fight over that. And people don't realize when you have a will, even when you name an executor, all the beneficiaries or heirs have to agree. People don't realize that the will can still be contested, even a valid one. When people don't agree, because all possible heirs and beneficiaries have to agree who the executor is going to be. It may be the one you name in the will, and it may not.
But in order for you to get to that point, if somebody contests, then they have to go through the whole process of
litigating that issue.
So that's so expensive and time-consuming, really, I think.
Yeah.
And it brings us back again to why some people, when they learn about a trust, they avoid all of that mess, assuming that it's set up correctly.
Right.
Okay? That's a big assumption. But assuming that it's set up correctly, then we don't have all these other issues that happen. And by the way, brothers and sisters, the things that percolate, your resentment, your dislike of each other, or disagreements about percolating there underneath, as soon as the parents die, if you end up in probate court, they just all come up to the surface and explode.
Yeah.
That happened quite often.
Yeah. I
That's
can imagine.
yeah, that's pretty sad, but that happens. That happens a lot, really.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
happens a lot.
You know, we love our brothers and sisters, but we're all different.
Yeah, very different. Different issues. And so what ends up happening to one of my clients, not my clients, but she came to me after everything is said and done. So what happened was, in her case, was two brothers and one sister. But the one with the loudest voice, the one who's most aggressive, ended up getting it all.
Yeah.
The bully.
Yeah.
The bully.
Yeah.
And the other ones back out. They're too scared. They're scared to litigate. They're scared to go to court. And whenever litigation is involved or fighting in court, it's the bully that wins overall.
Unfortunately, that happens. I mean, yeah, unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. That's what it happens, because they don't even want to deal with it, because it's just, it ruins you, you know, when you have to deal with it and you don't have the capacity or mentality to kind of like hold on. And it's like you are constantly being talked to and somewhat threatened in a way. So then, like, okay, you take it all and just disappear, you know. That's kind of like the attitude.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just don't want to deal with that. They just want to just like whatever.
And so one thing that I really want to mention, so it's not that I'm not an attorney, as you guys all know, so, you know, it's like I'm not writing any of the legal documents, so I don't get paid for this, right? But what I see is this, like, people tell me it's too expensive to draft these things, to prepare for these things. But what you're really, really forgetting is what you're protecting.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like when you're trying to buy a house and the house is worth $600,000 and you tell them, hey, go get a inspection. They go, how much is that going to cost? You tell them, like, okay.
It's $500, $600.
And they go, I don't want to.
I don't want to spend that money, okay, until there's a problem.
That's exactly.
That's
exactly
when they're like,
what,
oh man, I should have gotten that inspection.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got to really look at what you're buying, what you were trying to protect, and the value of it, you know. And when you're focusing on this, like, little tiny bit of whatever, and, you know, I think it's just so silly. It's just so silly. You do want to protect it because that's what you worked so hard for all your life almost.
Right.
Well, I always say, people, you know, what's the most important thing in your life? If you were on your deathbed, what would you value at that time? Name one or two, three things. Family, your assets.
That's it about
right? And everybody has the same answer.
Yeah.
But how sincere are you really about how important that is when You don't get your affairs in order. You don't protect your assets for your family. Are you really sincere about that? Is that really that important? And you're taking shortcuts and you want to take the cheapest route? That tells me the value in reality, how much you value that. You may tell me
that you value, but
that
your
that's the
actions,
most important, but your actions, they don't mean to, but you see how much value they put on that when you see their actions.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I tell people, if your wife needed brain surgery, she has tumor, would you Google trying to figure out how to do that yourself? Would you look for the cheapest doctor? No.
No.
But when it comes to our family and our assets and protecting it, some people literally will do that.
Wow. Yeah.
Same thing if your child, got into criminal trouble. Would you go to an immigration attorney?
No.
Would you go try to find the cheapest attorney?
Right.
You know darn well you're going to get what you pay for.
Right.
But yet we do it all the time.
All the time.
When it comes to our family and our assets.
On the important things.
The most important
The
things.
important things. It's crazy.
Their actions show otherwise.
Yeah.
And
Is it because people may not understand the consequences? I sometimes wonder why that is. And I can see that they actually value, they love their assets, really. So they value their assets, no question. And, if we all die, right? So at some point we're going to have to give it. And so then I'm looking at them and going, I know they want to give it to their children, for example, or their spouses and whatever. Why is it that you're still trying to look for shortcuts? It's just kind of, sometimes I wonder why that is. Because it doesn't, I do think they value, you see, but like when you are asked to take action, you wait and you kind of, like, I'll do it tomorrow. And then when you're asked to pay, they go like, that's too expensive, and stuff. It just blows my mind. I'm like, I don't understand this as to why that is.
in my view, they love their family. There's no question.
They do. So that's what I'm saying.
But they value money more.
Right now, money.
Yes.
Right now, money.
Right now, money. There's a difference about assets and your family versus you being trying to find the cheapest way to get what you want.
Yeah.
And so when you value just money, okay, that's different than you saying you value your family and and the assets for your family. That leads to being stingy, hoarding money, always trying to, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's complicated psychology and human nature, but there is a stark difference when you value money more than everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't understand it. We don't understand it, but there is a huge difference.
Otherwise, it doesn't explain.
It's hard to explain what I'm trying to say, and I don't even think I'm articulating it well. But there are people there that just, money is more important than anything else, and they don't realize it.
I think that's true.
I believe that.
I think that's true.
Over your family.
Yeah.
Even over yourself.
And even to the detriment of protecting what you have
Right.
and assets.
Yeah. Right now, money, I think, is what the problem is. Because leaving it behind, well, they want to do that, but I think spending that right now money, I think, kind of really gets in the way.
And it goes into penny wise, pound foolish.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Hopefully, all of us don't fall into that.
That's not.
well, we're not obviously,
Like everybody was.
but again, it's just a matter of education, and hopefully they find the right expert. Hopefully they will seek out the right expert.
Right.
And
There's a good point, because there are a lot of people also have bad experience too when they are dealing with professionals, right? They would expect the best. They would expect that they're going to watch out for me, look out for me, and then in the past, though, their experience had been a little different. I think it happens in any profession, really.
Every profession.
So then, like they're already burnt. I'm like, how can I trust this person? I think that happens too.
Yeah.
But to some extent, when you have that bad experience, again, did you seek out the right expert?
That's right. And
did you do the research?
Right.
Did you find somebody that actually specializes rather than a general practitioner? Were you looking for somebody cheap? There's a lot that goes into why we make mistakes.
Right.
Why bad things happen. I'm not saying it's justified.
Right.
Because things happen to teach us lessons.
Right. And if you can learn from it.
And if you can learn from it, you'll do better. But I always look at things like that happens like that. You have to analyze, how did you come to that decision to hire that person?
Right.
But nobody's willing to be introspective. They would rather be the victim. They would rather lay the blame on somebody else. But when mistakes happen, you have to be introspective and analyze, how did that happen?
Right.
That's right.
Because you're the forefront of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes a whole difference, right? Being accountable for what you did and what you're doing, really. That's a starting point.
Yeah, and with doctors and lawyers and any other profession, do some basic research. You know? Find other people that had good experiences and learn. Educate yourself. And I'm not talking about going down a rabbit hole and researching yourself on Google. Go learn from experts. We do workshops on the basics of wills and trust and the different kinds of trust for the public. And so learn.
That's a key.
The information's available, but you gotta look for it in the right direction.
But I think for the reason why we're doing this is just for that too, because when we professionals give out these presentations, it's like we think that everybody already knows all about a lot of different things. We assume too much, right? So then it becomes hard to listen to.
Yeah.
So breaking it down into like these conversations and things, and hopefully
it helps.
Yeah, that'll make it easy for
It helps.
people to understand and hear it.
And to start thinking about these things, because some people are still, even though they're getting older, they're still not thinking about it enough to take action and get themselves set up properly.
That's true. But I think it's very important for young families too.
Yes.
Because especially when you have minors.
Yeah.
Because everything takes so much time.
And I'm sure a lot of them don't think that they're at the age to even be thinking about it.
Right. But see, the thing is, the one case that I was working on was like, okay, so when you have minor children, right, we're thinking like, who should be my children's guardian, right? And there was this case where like this person asked her sister to be a guardian. She's like, no, I'm not interested. I can't do that. So these conversations take time, right?
And the guardian doesn't appoint who's going to manage the assets for minor.
Right.
Got to go to probate court.
Right.
Unless you have a trust. So it seems really simple, but a lot of questions go unanswered.
That's right.
When you make it too simple and you don't get the right expert advice about addressing all the what ifs.
Right. So I hope you all get some like help before it's too late, and I hope we're gonna be bringing more information to you and share more information with you. So hopefully it'll make it easy on all of us, you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to what other topics we can talk about and discuss.
Sounds good.
It'll be great.
All right. I think he's saying that we're going to have to wrap up.
Yep. So it was great to have you. I'm Soshana.
I'm Joyce.
And I'm Holly.
Thanks for watching this week's video. If you have questions on anything we covered or you'd like to ask us, just leave it in the comments below. We love to hear what you have to say about what we talked about and what you want us to talk about. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.